quick check-in. You're rounding just 8 seconds now. Yep. Good.
Yep. All good.
Sorry, that was a joke. Yep.
Nice one, man.
Leave the gags to me. That's it.
just stay in your lane.
just stand there and smile. Like,
Just look pretty and let me do the business here. Just quickly before we start, Tim, because we haven't spoken to you like in real life since the one-sided podcast went out where I was auditioning for your potential replacements. What did you think of the previous episode? You've had a listen since, presumably. Or do you not bother listening because you're not in it enough?
I skipped forward to the end.
Yeah.
There was a really funny guy at the end. Yeah. I like to think of it. Oh, sorry. I've taken to referring to it as the covert.
Just take it one word at a time, man.
I've taken to referring to it as the covert audition tape.
Oh, yeah. Covert? What do you mean covert? I published it.
Are you running a quiet poll? Like, which one of these do you think should replace Tim?
Yeah.
They were great. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple of very, very funny moments. And I have to say, I did quite appreciate, I don't know anyone's name, obviously, but it was the female voice, and she was sort of flying blind and responding. I thought that was really fresh and lovely.
She was
in
good.
particular.
I believe she was Kathleen. She was good. I thought they were all good. The funny thing was, listening to the real one at the end with you, like the actual conversation, which we sort of had as the finale.
Yeah.
Seemed like it's after hearing so much of everyone else, it seemed weird, like it seemed like fake.
I agree, because I totally agree. It was like, oh, this guy's trying to come up with stuff in between Brady's comments now as well, you know, and it's like not always succeeding.
Yeah. That pretty much sums up the podcast.
That's right. It's like he didn't quite get the timing right there, did he? And then Brady's cut in and he's talked over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few more practices maybe.
It was very good. We have had a few requests to do it again, maybe releasing just Tim audio next time and letting people fill in my blanks. I don't know. If you're keen on the idea, let us know. If you're not keen on the idea, just like be polite and keep your mouth shut. But
do you think?
But we'll see.
People taking the time to contact us to say, look, this isn't a good idea. Please move on to another idea.
What, you think people don't do that?
Thank you. Do people do that? Do people? I'm not talking about that was crap, I'm never listening again. That's understandable, but I'm going to continue to listen. But please don't do that particular idea again.
Don't worry, people. Tim's new to the internet. Trust me, that's super common.
You only forward me the positive emails. I know, it's lovely.
Yeah. Oh, man, if I forward you the negative emails, you'd be in a nervous wreck under your desk right now.
No, right.
Keep it happy for Tim, people.
Yep.
So, another thing that happened in the last week or so was very exciting. Tim was fast approaching, or maybe I should say gradually approaching, 2,000 Twitter followers.
Oh, yes.
So we had a little campaign for half an hour to try and get Tim up to 2,000, which happened. And then when Tim reached his 2,000th follower, you recorded a guitar solo, a personal guitar solo and message for number 2,000, which I thought was a nice moment. What was the person called? Number 2,000?
It was Joe.
Joe.
Yes.
And so you did a little shout out to Joe and did a bit of money for nothing, which I'll quickly play now so people can hear.
Oh, we don't need to.
What, you think you can stop me?
Congratulations, Joe. Hang on. She was the millennium person. That is, she was...
she was your personal millennium bug.
That's right. That's right. She wasn't a bug. But that's right. Yes, It was good. I don't really I honestly don't pay much attention to Twitter, but I did look at it and go, oh, when anything, like, even if it's the car turning over and you're in the 900s, you're sort of looking at it going, oh, hello, this will be exciting when it clicks over. So I looked at it and I was stuck on about, I don't know, Well, 1,900 and something, or 1,880, 1,989, something like that. Anyway, so sure enough, bang, we went over, and I think I added about 100, got about 100 new followers, which
you overshot.
Yes. I'm sure those people will be will be winding back their last minute purchase very, very soon. But
luckily, Twitter's servers were able to handle the extra load of Tim's 2000. So
that's right. Well, as a major influencer in the world of social media, I was. They have to be prepared. Yeah. They have to be prepared for people like myself. Well, I should get that little blue tick now. So soon, shouldn't I? Like that, that little tick for people over 2,000 followers.
Yeah, man, that's for the heavy hitters, man.
I think that's for the heavy hitters who people aren't sure who they are.
Yeah,
but it's almost like you don't need it. I think if you're so famous, if you're so well known and influential, it's like, well, this guy doesn't even need the blue tick, so we won't give it to him.
So if you're out there listening and you happen to work for Twitter, which is how most people end up getting their blue ticks, by knowing someone who works for Twitter, just Tim has put it on record, he doesn't want the blue tick.
No.
So if you were about to email the blue tick department and say, can you give this guy a blue tick? Tim doesn't want it, so don't give him the blue tick.
Do you think that people campaign to get a blue tick?
Well, isn't that what you're doing right now?
No, I'm honestly, I think that would be quite absurd. But I imagine people maybe do campaign heavily. I want a blue tick. I can understand it for a very famous person, like a politician who might be a bit concerned about the fact that there are copycat accounts that might confuse things. So that's fair enough. But I imagine there probably are people that push Twitter very heavily. Is it like? You've got a blue tick, is that right? Have you got a blue tick?
I do have a blue tick. Yeah.
Wow. So, how much money did you have to pay to get your blue tick?
They paid me for the cred of having their blue tick on my name. Like, it's so good for their reputation.
To be associated with a medium that you're already on. I mean, Twitter, how to get a blue tick. We'll see what comes up. How do you get a verified account? Fill out your profile completely with a profile picture, cover photo, name, website, add a phone number, email it, add your birthday. This all seems very general. I don't think they just do it because you've managed to fill out the form properly.
The reason I've brought all this up is to lead you to my first idea for a podcast.
Oh, okay. I really wanted to go first, but no, you go ahead. You've got the blue tick. You go ahead.
I've got the blue tick. You show respect where it's due. You respect the blue tick. So my idea, I've had an idea like this before, so I don't know if I've mentioned it on the show because it's been on my list, but if I have, I'm adapting it anyway. It's called Tim 2000. It's a 2000 episode podcast, and each episode is an interview with one of your Twitter followers.
Wow.
What do you reckon?
I think it might be, well, I guess I was going to say logistically difficult, but they can't be interviewed about me. That would be quite boring, and many of them wouldn't have a clue, but just about who they are and how they came to want to follow me on Twitter. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you could have different people doing the interviews. So, like, maybe that could be part of the novelty as well, like, to give it variety.
Ah.
There'd be some good stories out there.
What would your first question be?
Well, I tell you what, Tim. You don't have to just use your imagination here, because I contacted Joe, your 2000th follower, and I was so confident this was a good idea, I've actually recorded the first episode.
Are you serious?
I'm going to play it to you now. Are you ready?
I am. I'm ready.
Here we go.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Is it true you're in Canada?
Yes, I am.
What is it with Canada and the Unmade podcast?
I don't know. I've been listening to you guys for a while, and it seems to be a thing. Canadians just like you guys.
I don't know. I can't. And whereabouts in Canada are you?
In Toronto.
Toronto. Nice place.
It is. It's our biggest city, and like there's tons of people, but lots of stuff to do. So that's nice.
I have been to Toronto. When I was in Toronto, I saw a lightning bolt hit the what was the CN Tower.
Nice.
Yeah.
It does that a lot.
Yeah, I know. I always tell people I saw a lightning bolt, and then people from Toronto say, "Oh, yeah, that's just like seeing like a bird or something."
Yeah, it's a thing.
Have you seen it before? Have you seen it happen?
No, actually, I haven't.
So it's a little bit special.
It is, absolutely.
All right.
I don't go downtown that often, but it's fun.
And tell us about you. What do you do, like, as a person? Like, what's your thing?
My thing?
Yeah.
Well, I work in retail. I'm a general manager of a retail store.
Yep.
And then on the side, I do lots of art, as you can see. I'm primarily a painter. Some drawing, photography, that kind of stuff.
On the side,
Yeah.
I think you're downplaying it. It's like you're in an art gallery. That room you're in. There's all sorts of magnificent paintings on the wall done by you.
Thank you. I took art in school. My mom taught me how to draw and paint, so that was kind of our thing when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of snowballing. It's getting bigger now.
Brilliant. Now let's talk about following Tim on Twitter.
Yes.
How did this come about? Was this because of our little campaign to get him to 2,000 that you clicked the button?
Yeah, actually, because of quarantine, I haven't been going to bed at any reasonable hour. So when you guys are waking up, I'm usually going to bed. So I saw you tweet, and then I was like, you know what? I've listened to the podcast. You guys have really good connection. So I'm like, yeah, let's follow him. Why not? And then I ended up being the 2,000th follower. So I screenshotted it and I was like, yay. So I tweeted at him and then it kind of got bigger from there.
And then you got a whole guitar solo. What did you think of that? Getting your own.
That was very sweet. It was awesome.
I don't know if awesome is the word I'd use, but it was sweet maybe.
Well, I mean, it was the first time someone's done a guitar solo for me. So
okay.
I thought it was awesome.
All right. Oh, Tim would be very happy to hear that. Now, tell me about what your hopes and expectations are from Tim now that you follow him. Like, what do you want to see him doing? What do you want to see him talking about? Like, is there a danger you will unfollow him?
No, I generally don't unfollow people, but, long as he keeps tweeting interesting things, I think I'm going to keep following him.
No advice, though? No,
Keep up with the podcast.
Keep up with the podcast. Yeah. All right. You seem to follow quite an eclectic group of people on Twitter. Like, what do you look for in tweets? Like, when you scroll down your Twitter feed, are you looking for the jokes or pictures or news or?
I do follow, like you said, a lot of different people. It's just if they tweet interesting things, I'm interested in a lot of different things. I follow a lot of musicians, podcasters. I do like a little bit of news kind of sparkled in there. It's usually if they have one or two tweets that kind of catch my eye, then I'll follow them.
And do you have any favorites? Like when this person tweets, you'll be like, oh yeah, I always love it when this person does a tweet.
Well, obviously you and CGP Grey.
Of course.
And now Tim.
Yes.
He's included.
Okay. Yeah.
But I follow a lot of musicians too. So a lot of like rock bands, like Blink-182, Mark Hoppus, that kind of thing.
You would include Tim as a musician now, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, then. Well, I bet you didn't expect this was going to happen when you became number 2,000. So thank you for being roped in.
No worries. Actually, I was talking to my husband, who's also named Tim.
No.
Yeah. And we are both fans of Hello Internet, so we are also both Tims.
Right. That's excellent. That's excellent. By the way, what do you think of my idea of like doing podcast interviews with all 2,000 of Tim's followers?
I think that's awesome. You guys will be able to have episodes for years and years to come. I think it would be great to kind of hear everyone's stories and how they kind of fell into following Tim. I think it's a good idea.
And you only just got onto the list.
I did. I was a latecomer, but you know what? It worked out.
Better late than never. Now, just finally, you said you were very touched by the piece of art that Tim created in tribute to you, that magnificent guitar solo.
I was.
You have reciprocated, haven't you?
I did. You know what? I felt so moved that he did that for me that I decided to create a portrait of him.
Right.
Which I will send to him as well.
Okay, so is Tim's going to get the original, is he?
Yes, he will. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll also include a link to your Instagram or something in the notes so people can go and look at some of your art because it's really awesome. So I'm glad that number 2,000 was someone who's making such awesome stuff.
Awesome. That's so amazing. Thank you so much.
It was lovely to talk to you. Talk again sometime.
You too. Sounds good.
Bye now.
Bye.
There you go, man. That's episode 1 of Tim 2000.
Classic. Oh, that's so sweet. Wow.
Do you want to see the portrait of you that she did?
Oh, have you got it already?
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you on... Can I text you or is your phone glued to a wall somewhere or something?
You can text it to me.
All right, here it comes. So she's going to send you the original, but she's also given me permission to run riot with it on either via Patreon or some piece of weird merch. So beware. I'm thinking wall tapestry.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. She's done a really great job.
Yeah, I think she captures the asymmetry of your face quite well.
Oh, wow. Oh, hang on. No, you've accidentally sent me one of Brad Pitt instead. This is the wrong one. Oh, no, wait. No, it's me. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, that's wow. She's an incredible artist. She's done a really great job. That's really fantastic.
Yeah. Now available as a cushion or wall tapestry.
You're not. When did wall tapestries become a merchandise item?
It's just such a weird merch thing in our shop that you can have things as wall tapestries. That I'm going to only make this available as a wall tapestry or cushion, nothing else.
But you're denying people who want hats and scarves and all sorts of other things. Tea towels. We should have tea towels.
A hat with a pencil sketch of Tim Hine on it.
Pencil sketch hat. Who's going to have just this guy with his arms folded looking out over the top of the brim of a hat. You walk down the street.
Pensive, yeah. Who's that picture on your hat? Oh, just some minister at some church in Adelaide or something.
And they'll go, hang on, is that a Joe? And they'll be like, yeah, well, it is actually.
It's a Joe. It's a Joe. It's a Joe 2020 during her lockdown phase.
Well, that is very sweet of Joe.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Considering the quality of the guitar solo, I feel like her gift outweighs mine somewhat.
I know. She's put you in your place. So, only 1,999 episodes to go.
Gosh. They don't all have to sketch pictures of me, though, do they? That's
No, they don't have to sketch pictures of you, but each one of them will be required to form some piece of art in tribute to you. And at the end of the project, we open up an art gallery. Sculptures and all sorts of poems. Just 2,000 tributes to Tim.
Oh, dear. Look, I have to say, thank you, Joe. Thank you. That is brilliant. That is really brilliant. It's not, that's taken a bit of time there. Really well done. Sadly, we won't be able to share it with anyone else. It's going to be just a private collection.
Yeah. No, they can buy the wall tapestry.
How big are these wall tapestries, by the way? I saw that in the merch shop.
I don't know. But the thing I like is because of the way that she's drawn it, that kind of pencil-y, charcoal-y looking thing. It's got that kind of nice look about it. Yeah. I can just imagine it on a wall tapestry. It's going to look a little bit like the Shroud of Turin.
That's right. This cloak is what Tim Hine was wrapped in for thousands of years.
It's Tim's burial cloth.
Oh dear!
That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it the Shroud of Tim.
The shroud.
Oh yeah.
1,000 years from now, it'll be disproved though. They'll go, oh no, it's not actually Tim. Turns out it was a pencil sketch by someone called Joe.
Yeah, she was one of the preeminent artists of the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
But as a podcast idea, I think you better leave it there because I can't see this
Tim,
going too far.
I'm going to leave it there. Wink. Oh, please stop interviewing people saying how wonderful I am and drawing pictures of me.
That's right.
Enough. Next I'll be getting a blue tick.
Quite a bit of homework there, man. Good preparation. I was looking up something, I Googled something before we started recording, and I thought, look, here am I getting well prepared for this episode, like a good little soldier. And, yeah.
And I'm commissioning artworks and doing interviews and all sorts.
Well, that's something. Right. I don't quite know what to say. Do you have anything else? You've got no other secret recordings and commissioned artworks? We can move on.
Yeah, Tim's got a hunger for it now. He's disappointed, that's all. Is that it?
Only one photo? What?
One?
One?
All right, let's hear from you. Hang on. No, before we do you, we have to do Hover.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. let's if you say you want the blue tick, you say you're an influencer. Let's hear you do some influencing.
All right. Hover.
Convince the people out there to register a domain name with Hover and use our offer code or whatever by going to hover.com/unmade or use the offer code unmade, because then they will get what do they get? 10% off their first purchase. So, but don't take my word for it. Here's Tim Hine telling you why you should do it.
Hi folks, it's Tim Hine here. You maybe have seen me on other mediums such as Twitter. And I'm here today to encourage you to use Hover. If you've got ideas, they've got domains. Hover is the preeminent place to buy domains. If you want to buy a domain, if you want to just grab a domain and hold it because it's a perfect idea for something you might want to do, Hover's the logical and obvious place to go. You go in, you type it in, the options come up, you click on it, you buy it, you're done. It's magnificent.
It's amazing. You're making me do it right now.
Oh, well, what are you doing, man?
Stop it. Stop it with your syrupy sales technique.
My syrupy. I've got the, I went to a deeper voice because I think salespeople often go deep. And I think once you get a deep voice, it starts to sound very reassuring. So I've come to Hover. And you should too.
I want to see if predominant.com is available.
Predominant. Predominant is what you are before you're dominant.
It's also not available. You can get predominant.online, predominant.org. Oh no, predominant.com is available, but it's very expensive because I think someone's got it and they're reselling it. So you're probably not going to go for that one. It's $11,000 or 10% off with your by going to hover.com/unmade. But
that's what happens when I use words. They just
that's right. Literally, the price started going up as you spoke.
10% off.
But predominant.live you could get for $5. What? So there are, predominant.co, $26. All of this with your 10% off as well if you hover.com/unmade. Make sure if you go to Hover, people use that /unmade, because the people at Hover, I think, are amazed that people are actually buying domains using our code. So they're like begrudgingly sponsoring another episode because it seems to work. So keep up the good work, civilians.
All right, so my idea is, it's a little bit of a downer, but it's a deliberate downer.
Right.
My idea is called Everything is Awful. Like, awful.
Right.
So this is a podcast
about Tim's guitar playing.
That could be the theme music, that's for sure.
You mean this?
No.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I hope you're playing the Joe version and not the original version.
Oh no, Tim. Oh no, you know exactly what I played. Not your multiple rehearsed Joe version.
Well, I don't even think my guitar is full of optimism. It actually wouldn't be appropriate for Everything is awful because it's trying, it's looking. Whereas Everything is Awful is the Eeyore of podcasts, right? So it's just the glass half empty. It's the sort of the dark night of the soul. So this is, I was talking to my wife tonight and I was saying, look, what would you love to listen to right now as a podcast? Trying to pump her for ideas, right? She came up with an idea. This was about 10 minutes before I left.
I think she saw through what you were doing, man. I'm off to record the podcast with Brady in half an hour, but before I do, what kind of podcast would you like to listen to?
And as usual, she came up with a perfectly reasonable good idea, which I thought, I can't talk about that. That's not good for the show. I said, what wouldn't you want to listen to? And she goes, something that describes...
Unmade podcast, basically.
That's right. She said, apart from your guitar playing, anything basically something that just talked about how everything is awful. And I was like, actually, that's great. How come the optimists always get the podcast and the inspirational quotes? And you know what I mean? Like the world, see, the TV shows, they're all perky and they're happy. And it feels like the podcast, you know, they're all full of vision and optimism and you can do it and things are going to be great and look on the bright side and all that. But actually, I think there's a podcast niche for exploring how everything is awful.
Talk me through what an episode would be like.
Well, so you could have guests who come on and talk about how awful things are, either in, you know, maybe their life or in the circumstance or their day, or just, look, here's something awful that happened to me. And they could describe, you know how you just have one of those days?
Yeah.
It could be something that explored things that were truly awful and terrible, but I actually think in some ways it's kind of more appropriate to talk about the things that really annoy you in the moment. It's like, you wouldn't believe what's happened today. This happened and this happened. And it's just like, oh, man, that's awful. You
could have like recurring segments too. Like you could have like an awful thought for the day, and you could review movies and just say awful things about them and talk. And you could have a little update section where you talk about the parts of the world where the weather's the worst at the moment.
That's right. I'm just laughing at the awful thought for the day. If you're feeling all right, just remember this.
Yeah. And then you could have a section at the end where you like talk about your Patreon supporters and how much you dislike them.
That's right, yeah. It's just really Eeyore and passive aggressive. Like, you probably won't support. You're probably not even listening. This is so awful. Typical.
Oh yeah, and instead of sponsors and adverts, you have little sections where you talk about products that are crap.
That's right. That never work properly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they just don't. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I love it. This episode has been brought to you by a tin of light cheese.
In a funny kind of way, this is also, in its own way, kind of an optimistic, because there's a sort of podcast, because there is the gallows humour, right? So the black humour, there is a sense of resilience and coping. And once you've named how awful things are, somehow they feel, you know what I mean? Like you're able to cope with them a little bit more.
Nice.
And so I think this could actually, a bit like listening to The Cure or to sad music, it actually is strangely comforting and whatnot. So in a strange way, this could be quite a positive podcast. In fact, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I like the idea of calling it Everything is Awful.
I do. A good idea, man. Well played indeed. In fact, I'd like to pilot that one day. I'd like to do an episode of that one.
I think it could be good. I got a bit fascinated by the etymology, like of awful, because there's a big gap in our understanding between awesome and awful. But of course, they got the same root, which is something that's, that's full of wonder.
Full of awe.
That's right, something worthy of respect and reverence. I read that when Sir Christopher Wren was showing Queen Anne around the St Paul's Cathedral, which he, designed, she said that it was awful and artificial, which was a compliment. Like, it filled her with awe and it was a work of art, but her way of, at the time, the language of the century was that it was awful and artificial. And I thought, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Full of awe.
You go home and call your wife awful and artificial and see how that goes down.
That's right. I could say, this is a Shakespearean compliment. What are you talking about?
You could tell her that just as you tell her that when you asked her for an idea for the podcast, you then did the exact opposite of what she thought you should do.
Well, funnily, I said, no, that's awful. But actually what I meant was, that's a wonderful idea. I'm going to use the opposite.
Yeah.
There we go. What do you think of Everything is Awful?
As I said, I like it. I'd be up for even doing one day. Like that's a good one. I love the idea of it. I like the idea of attaching each episode to a topic. The title of each episode is Something is Awful. So, Star Trek is awful. Apples are awful. Tom Hanks is awful. Each episode has like a name like that. That's the template.
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
would
really
work.
good fun.
You did that a little while ago when you did Doctor Who is Rubbish.
Yes. Yeah. Doctor Who is rubbish.
There's quite a bit of material in talking about how awful some things are. Like it's there's a bit to revel in.
People either love it or they love to hate it. Yeah.
And there are quite a few things awful out there. Like there are just I saw an ad the other day that came on the TV. There's a show in Australia called Doctor, and it just looks like an attempt to be, a bad guy kind of doctor who breaks the rules a little bit. And it looked like the very essence of mediocrity. I said to my wife, that looks awful. Like, it just looks mediocre.
And artificial.
It does. Yes, that's right.
And she was like, brilliant. It's the St. Paul's Cathedral of TV shows.
It is. That's right.
So let's get another awful idea out there. Let's dip into our patrons. By the way, Tim, I want to do a special encouragement for people to sign up for Patreon at the moment because it's what's helping us get more episodes out there. But I'm also starting to formulate and hatch a few little plans for treats for patrons that I think people might be interested in. But getting in early on Patreon is going to be the key there. I haven't actually told you about this yet, but I'm working on a little something.
Wow, that sounds awful.
It is highly, highly artificial.
Good stuff.
But in the meantime, another perk of being a Patreon supporter is you get to send us in ideas that we will share on the show, maybe. And here is a maybe that became a definitely, because I have an email here from someone called Wayne. And I'm going to use some names here because I have to for this idea to make sense and for reading this email to serve its purpose. So here we go.
Have you read to the bottom where Wayne says, please do not use my name? Because that's happened before.
That has happened before, yeah. But I think the idea, we have to use the names here, and you're about to find out why. Because this is like one of those call-outs for help. So here we go. Dear Brady and Tim, thanks so much for the Unmade podcast and all your fun and creative shows.
You're welcome.
I'm Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
Yeah, you don't have to reply to. You don't have to reply to every sentence.
Sorry.
I work for a Baptist church in Manchester, in England, as a pastor.
Cool.
I'm also a podcaster and a broadcaster. My idea for a podcast might just answer a question I've had all my life about a connection I have with Adelaide, South Australia. I'm in my late 50s now. Back in the 1950s, my mother was a Brit living in Adelaide, leading a pack of Cub Scouts. She was committed to all the boys in the pack, but her favourite was a boy called Wayne Clark. My mother, who was then called Eunice Baker, soon went back to England and married my dad, who was called Fred Clark, and I was born not long later. Mum, now a Clark, decided to name me after her favourite cub back in Adelaide, so I was named Wayne Clark. Somewhere, maybe still in Adelaide, there's a man I was named after, who's now about 70, whose name I was given, who doesn't even know I exist. I've done some searching for him online, but never found him. My idea for a podcast comes from this story. I'd call it The Name's the Same. The host would have 2 guests for each episode. The 2 guests would be strangers and would have only one thing in common. They have the same name. The podcast would have the 2 guests talking about their lives and their names and how similar or different they are in experiences, tastes, preferences, and life choices. I think it would make for fascinating listening with a bit of research to find the right guests. That's my story, and that's my idea. Maybe one day I'll find my namesake in Adelaide, and he and I could be guests on the podcast. With best wishes, Wayne Clark.
There we go. Well, Wayne's putting it all out there, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Do you know what would be amazing if the other Wayne Clark also listens to the Unmade podcast?
That's right. So he would know if he was a Cub Scout in Adelaide, and he may remember the Cub leader, which was Eunice Baker. Is that right? Who became Eunice Clark and moved to England. So that's all we've got to go on there. If you're listening, Wayne.
If you're called Wayne Clark and you were in the Cub Scouts in the 1950s and you had a leader called Eunice, get in touch.
But what if there are hundreds of people that fit that description?
Well,
we're going to have to go interview these Waynes. What's a collective noun for Wayne? Like what's...
For a collective noun for Waynes?
Waynes.
That's a good question.
A cluster of Waynes?
It's got to start with a W. What about a...
A whirl?
A whimper of Waynes?
A whimper of Waynes. Hey, because when I think of the name Wayne, I think of the show The Wonder Years.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we go with A Wonder of Waynes.
A Wonder of Waynes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Nice. The Wayner.
A Wonder of Waynes. So of all the Waynes out there, the worldwide wonder of Waynes, we're wondering when you can get in touch
Where's
with
our
us.
Wayne in that whole worldwide wonder of Waynes?
I would have thought the first place to look was the World Wide Web, but
Then Wikipedia.
that's right. I wonder if Wayne worked on the World Wide Web or the Wikipedia.
Or you could just check LinkedIn. Wastebook.
There should be a worldwide Wonder of Wayne's register somewhere where you could check where they
A register.
a register for Wayne's. Do you know anyone called Wayne? Who comes to mind?
Yeah, one of my absolute best mates, who I go on holidays with all the time, is Wayne.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if he's on the World Wide Web Wayne register, but I'll ask.
Does he have a blue tick?
All right. I tell you what, Wayne missed a trick there, though, because his podcast idea, he's called The Name's the Same. It should have been called The Name's Wayne, or The Wayne's the Same.
Wayne's the same, that's right. Maybe he's naming it after the Led Zeppelin album, the name Remains the Same, which starts to sound a bit like Elmer Fudd, really, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so this is firstly the podcast idea, right? I think that's a good idea. Find people with the same name.
It's a very good idea. Very good, solid idea. Good format.
Totally. In fact, if maybe we shouldn't run this, and we'll use it as my idea next time as a bit of a backup. Helpful for me, that is.
Oh, I was hoping your next idea was going to be your alliteration with all your World Wide Web of Waynes and things. All these dad jokes.
That's right. But I think it would be great to be able to find Wayne Clark. That's for sure. Yeah. So spread the word, because people will, even if there's not a Wayne Clark. If Wayne himself is not listening, then people may know a Wayne
Tim,
Clark.
you're there. Your boots on the ground. You're in Adelaide. I'm depending on you to deliver here.
Well, what am I going to do? Go door to door saying, "Excuse me, is your name Wayne Clark?" Like, how is being local going to help in this at all?
Because you are Tim, and you are the one person in the world who just bumps into people serendipitously more than any other person I know. I will be shocked. I will be shocked if this week you are not in some shop somewhere and you get talking to someone and it turns out it's Wayne Clark.
That's right.
I almost guarantee that will happen this week.
Yeah, I do tend to have
That
those
is like your
comments.
superpower. Yeah.
My waiter.
You're-
There he is. So,
yeah.
that would be cool. Well, that's a great idea. And I love the fact that the Patreon idea is not only a corker of an idea, but leaves something open that we're anticipating where it's going to go. I like that too. It's going to have a follow-up.
Let's get out there. Let's get out there.
And well done to
Let's shake some trees.
Well done to Wayne, the original, well, not the original, the Patreon Wayne. Well done for being a Patreon.
Yeah.
And well done for coming up with such a great idea.
And also, people remember patreon.com/unmadefm to support the show, to get your ideas on the show, and to be eligible for a little something I'm working on the side. Can't say too much.
Can't you?
But let's just say...
Can you tell me?
It's not going to be another Shroud of Tim.
No, there's only one of those.
that-
It's well protected in a museum.
Well, no, there's not one. There's as many as we're able to sell, so there's probably none of them.
Less than one.
Unless Tim buys one. Check out the show notes to buy the Shroud of Tim.
Yeah.
That was a message just for you, Tim. That's where I'll put the link for you, Tim, so you can buy it. That's it for another episode.
Good to have a nice, reliable, traditional episode, I mean. This is great. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, solid.
Solid.
It's what the people have come to know and love.
Not just solid, awful. Awful.
Awful and artificial.